Hi, my name's John.
And I'm Allie.
And when we finished Season 2 of Fruits Basket,
we thought it would be a fun idea to look back at Season 1
and talk about all the cool details that we may have missed from an anime only
and a manga reader's perspective.
So join us today as we talk about Season 1, Episode 7, Spring Comes. Welcome back to another episode of our Fruits Basket podcast. So if you like this kind of content, we would really appreciate it if you helped us to reach our goal of 7,500 subscribers by the end of the year. And to do that, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and why even ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. Because we're going to be looking at the rest of Season 1 of Fruits Basket as a retrospective. So if you have not watched Season 2 yet, make sure to click off this video now because there will be spoilers. But with all that out of the way, where are we starting?
First of all, we have to talk about your collab with Breathy.
Ooh, over on his channel, I was the first guest on his new anime game show, Anime IQ, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I think I did pretty okay. So, if you haven't checked that out yet, we'll have a link in the description down below. Make sure to go check that out. See whether or not I actually know anything about Fruits Basket.
Yeah, it was a trivia boy game show time. Mm-hmm.
Trivia boy game show time. On to this episode, which there are actually a couple questions about in the trivia show. So, fitting. We start out, and Kyo's freaking out, trying to figure out, yo, where's Toru at?
Yeah, I love that this is one of the only times he's really featured in the episode, at least with a speaking line, and it's him worrying about Toru. It's so cute.
Yeah, because he's so used to her being there, and the moment that she's not there, he's like, oh my god, where'd she go? What happened? Ah! But where is she?
She's at the estate, because she snuck away. She wanted to meet up with Hatori.
I think it's so fun that when she actually gets to the estate, the first person to greet her, which, it's so fitting, because we always talk about how Momiji knows, everything that's happening with everyone. And so, I don't know if it was just, circumstantial. I think it was that was Momiji, but, he knows everything. If something's a little bit amiss, he's on it.
Yeah, and she also meets up with Momiji because Momiji and Hatori have a really interesting relationship. Because Momiji doesn't have his parents, but he still lives in the estate, he didn't really have kind of an adult role model. And Hatori's not that much older than him, parental level older than him, but he still is kind of a male role model, kind of fatherly figure that Momiji could look up to that whole time and have watch over him. And I just love that in all of the flashbacks we see of them in their childhood, Momiji's always clinging on to Hatori because that's his caretaker in a way. The maids probably took care of him, duh. But Hatori was the person who lived on the estate and was always looking out for him.
Oh, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, and it was probably good for Hatori because he removed Yuki's friends' memories, and yeah, he removed Momiji's mom's memories, but at least he could still be there for Momiji. Yeah. That was allowed, that was permissible.
Yeah, because he wasn't blocked like everyone was blocked from Yuki. Oh.
Yeah.
So in a way, it may have been, whether consciously or unconsciously, almost being that kind of guiding hand for Momiji may have been like a repentance kind of deal. Oh.
That's how I view it. I don't know if that's the correct way, but that's how I view it.
Well, yeah. I feel like unless they explicitly state it in Season 3, which, I don't know, that would be a strange thing to loop back on. But, I feel like that could be, inferred or, deduced.
But then after that, Momiji picks up Toru, takes her to go see Hatori, and Toru is stressed out. Girl is panting. She's so tired. She's the stressed kind of just went on a walk, but because I'm absolutely terrified, felt like a marathon.
Yeah. No. And it's so understandable that she's flipping out, because I would be. It's almost like You're going to meet the principal in the principal's office. You're in trouble, but you have no idea why. Because Yuki literally just last episode was like, if he ever wants you alone, don't do it. Bad move. Stay away. And then instantly he literally calls her up, calls her to his office. She's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble.
But in this moment, they chat, and Momiji explains some parts about the family. So we get to learn more about the Soma Clan. And he talks about the inside versus the outside. So, like, who's in on the secret, who isn't. And most importantly, they're not a family. They're a clan. And I know that still trips up some people.
Yeah. And I think it's really good that they kind of laid out, like, what the Soma family actually is. That more clan-related, the inner family having distinct differences from the outer family. And how not all of them are, like you said, that blood relation. So, like, even though we see Hatori and Kana's relationship kind of, like, develop later in the episode, because she's in the outer family, while they share the same last name, they're not, like, blood relatives, nor are, like, Haru and Rin, even though they're in the inner family, they're just within the same, like, clan structure. Kind of like in Naruto, how not all of the Uchihas, while they have the same, like, descendants, they've fanned out so much before they all got killed.
Whoa.
They fanned out so much that it's not like every individual sect was, like,
Yeah.
So, no, I'm really glad that they kind of elaborated on that, because it is such a huge estate.
Yeah, and being Americans, we aren't really introduced to clan structures, and I don't even think they're popular in Japan anymore. I think in the time in which this was written, clans weren't even allowed anymore. I'm pretty sure. I remember that being something like, Fruits Basket isn't realistic because clan structures don't exist anymore, or something along those lines. But yeah, so that's like one of the unrealistic properties of Fruits Basket, besides them turning into animals. But
there's that.
So as Americans, a lot of us just associate last names with relation, like blood relation, and no, not in this case. But after we get that good old explanation, Hatori is looking pretty angry, and Toru picks up on it, and she says something about his voice makes it sound like he's always angry, and I like that she's picking up on these emotions, and she's not relating it to her, if that makes sense. Like, she doesn't think that Hatori is angry with her, but she knows that he's angry. And that's kind of like where he is. He's angry that someone has to be put in this position again. He's angry that what happened with Kana might happen with someone else. And I like that those emotions are being shown, but they aren't being, like, directed at someone, if that makes sense. Like, he's just a person with emotions, and yeah, he might be taking it out on people, but he's not mad at Toru.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's so interesting that he has, like, this underlying anger to him that Toru's picking up on, because he describes them after he admits that in normal circumstances, were Akito not permitting her to keep her memories, like, he would have just wiped her memory, like, straight off the bat. So he's, like, describing themselves as, like, monstrous, loathsome, cursed, and that she should just get out of this situation. And the anger is inherently there, and Toru can pick up on that, but it's not explicitly stated.
Yeah, it's just kind of underlying. I think it's so cool. I really liked that part. And then in the next scene, after Hatori leaves, Momiji explains Hatori and Kana's relationship, which we'll get to later. But he does say that Hatori is worried about Toru. And so she kind of connects that anger to worry. And she puts it all together. And it's so good.
It's like he's frustrated that he even has to, like, humor, like, this situation. That there's any risk there involved with her. Which is mirroring greatly his experiences with Kana, which we'll get into in a sec. And like she goes into her just being so grateful to have met everyone, and that just having this experience has been such like essentially like a blessing for her. But that's when Shigure pops his head in, says that they're not using Toru, which is a big fat old lie.
Hatori had said that Akito was using Toru. Shigure says that Akito isn't. So, if Akito is using Toru, what for?
Oh god, that's the billion-dollar question. I'm always wondering about this, and I think the answer I keep coming back to is just to give something to Kyo and Yuki to latch onto, to then rip away, to like break them into submission.
Okay. Yeah, because in season 2, we hear a lot more from Akito, and she says constantly how much she despises Toru, and that she's like a stupid girl and an ugly girl and like all this stuff about her. So
there has to be a reason.
There
has to be a reason behind it, other than because she could very easily give the order to Hatori at any moment, and he would be compelled to do so because of the curse. And so it's a lasting thing that's ongoing and a conscious, like, Akito hates Toru, but like there's still something there that is causing Akito to let her keep her memory. And I think it would just be much easier for Akito, as like Yuki and Kyo are being built up, to just like snap them like twigs. Or at least that's what Akito thinks. Give them a bond that will be broken, just like Akito fears her bonds will be broken.
Oh, that's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
To kind of break down other bonds, like your parents will leave you, your loved ones will leave you, but I'll never leave you.
Exactly. Like showing that the only lasting bond is the one with God. And that's a very terrifying way of thinking about it, because it transcends literally their lives. And so like those two voices, their own voice and then the spirit's voice being within them, like the spirits have kind of really gotten that into their memory, and it creates that internal conflict. That's my idea, at least.
Serious. That's cool. Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
That's a fun one. I don't know. I like thinking that. Okay, after that, we get Hatori. He walks Toru out, and he turns into a seahorse.
Hey.
When she bumps into him.
Another zodiac checked off the list.
But now that we're at like the midway point of the episode, we jump into the Kana flashback part. So, oh man, let's just go into this.
I love everything to do with this flashback. It makes it probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite episode in the series. It definitely topped like 5, because seeing their relationship develop from just not really knowing each other, she's from the outside family, he's on the inside, to like her discovering his seahorsey nature. It's just so, like, I don't know, it's precious. It makes my heart flutter. But also, like, her saying things like, please don't be scared, don't reject me for knowing. Like, that compassionate understanding that is just, like, so Toru is just, it makes my heart hurt.
When we get the episode title coming up, and we get the question, what comes of the snow when the snow melts? And it's spring. And just that very kind, very optimistic way of looking at things is it's so refreshing at this point in the story, especially to see it coming from someone who isn't Toru, and to hear that someone else has such a similar outlook. It's really nice.
Yeah, and up until this point, Hatori presents himself as a very, like, level, calculating person, and even just him falling in love. He illustrates this so well, saying like, she was my spring, and he fell in love like it was the only logical thing to do. Like, he couldn't think himself out of this situation. Because he's such a rational person, especially with the curse, that he's closed himself off because he's traumatized so many people because of his circumstances, that, like, it's surreal to him that he would find his spring, which is so heartbreaking, but also so, I don't know, like, he's melting.
He's literally melting. And I really enjoy, after having, 5-6 episodes of following the teenaged characters, seeing a more mature relationship and the impact that it has on them, especially with Hatori's introspection, because Hatori is a very introspective dude, you know? He's always thinking about himself, how he relates to others, how they relate to him, the inner workings of everything, the interpersonal relationships, things like that. Those are things that he notices. And we get to see, I don't know, like a little glimpse at that when he recognizes his own flaws and he goes, I am frozen. I am like snow. She is my spring. She has optimism. I am more pessimistic or like realistic, like on that end of the spectrum, just because of what he's been through. Whereas Kana is a breath of fresh air, and she brings so much happiness to his life in a different way.
Yeah.
And that introspection is so good for their maturity.
Yeah. And it really hits on, like, I bring it up all the time, Eric Erickson, we talked about this exact same thing in the Mayu episode from season 2, but it shows that at this point in his life, when he's getting to know Kana, they're not in that identity versus role confusion stage that all of like the teenagers are, where they're just trying to find out who they are. They're looking more towards that intimacy versus isolation, where at this developmental stage, you're trying to find someone who is outside your family, who you can share that more intimate relationship with. And so just how the struggles of the curse are affecting them differently at different developmental levels is so interesting, because he's looking to settle down. He's finding that love that is much more transcendent than like a high school romance, which, not to throw shade on the great romances of the high schoolers in this show, because those are spectacularly written, but this feels more mature just inherently.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that they should all be written in a mature way, because that wouldn't be realistic. They're all written in a realistic way. Hatori is older. He's looking for someone to settle down with. He's looking for a life partner. So naturally, he's approaching relationships much differently than the kids in the high school.
Yeah.
And that's done so spectacularly.
Oh, everything in this show is just so accurately written to real life that it's mind-boggling. And just because someone's an adult, I don't want that to make it seem like they have to be in this stage. It differs for everyone, but like, it makes so much sense that he would be. Chef's kiss on this.
And you know what I haven't said in a while? Symbolism time with Allie.
Ooh. Yeah. Let's go. Snaps.
Okay. So as we see Hatori and Kana's relationship blossom, we also see some cherry blossoms. Ooh. So, as I've talked about previously, they are known as a symbol of rebirth, and that's really fitting because Hatori views himself, and he even says this, as a forgiven or saved person now that Kana loves him. So, like, he is transformed. He is now forgiven of his, like, sins of ruining Yuki's childhood and ruining Momiji's childhood, which he puts the blame on himself for. Now he's this new person. He's been forgiven. Someone loves him. Someone accepts him and says that it's okay that these things happened. So he's finally getting that affirmation that he really, really needed. But then immediately that is turned on its head when Kana and Hatori beg to get married, and Akito attacks Hatori with a mirror. So within Japanese culture, mirrors are one of the most potent symbols of power. They're revered as the sacred objects that represent the gods. So it makes sense why Akito is using a mirror. And
ooh,
yeah. And so all of that affirmation that Hatori just got, feeling forgiven, feeling saved, now he's being punished by his god with one of the most potent symbols of power. Before, with Kana feeling really good about himself, now he's not feeling so great about himself, and Akito continues to beat him down, saying that his love was only hurting Kana, and that, yeah, sure, he felt like he was saved, but he wasn't. He was actually just hurting her the whole time, which he now is adding to his list of baggage with Yuki and Momiji.
Yeah, because even though he was saved for a time, like, it just turned into, like everything else, just another thing to put in the notch. Like, just pain. Like, while he loves the memories with Kana, and they were the source of so much of his happiness and his spring, they've turned into that awfulness. They turn into nothing but pain for Kana.
And Hatori, when he wipes Kana's memories, he even says that he views it as punishment for wiping Yuki's friends and Momiji's mom's memories. So he's still harboring a lot of that.
And it's so telling about just how much he's come to terms with this curse, how he reacts to this situation. Because obviously he's heartbroken. Obviously this is the worst thing, or one of the worst things that's ever happened to him in his life, is having to, like he said, with his own hands, get rid of the memories that are most dear to him. But he prays that he'll be snow in a world without spring, and that Kana will find happiness in someone better. Which, like, props, because I think there are very few people in this world who would be able to take such a irrational and, like, truly, like, that shows just how much he truly loved Kana. Like, it wasn't just, like, I love her, because it was such an unselfish love, because he wants her to have happiness with someone else, even though it can't be him. And that he'll be snow in a world that never sees the spring, which he does see the spring, just saying, that's revealed later, but with someone else.
So you know what, let's go there, back to the present.
Yeah.
Toru, she runs off to go get Hatori's shoes once he wakes up, and he overhears his former love Kana and his future love Mayu.
Yes.
And they're talking about Kana's upcoming wedding. And
oh my gosh, is that Mayu walking with her?
Have you never put that together?
No, I never noticed that.
What?
What?
Yeah, that's why in a future, I think it's next episode, Mayu is teaching, she goes back to her desk, and she opens a book or something and finds a picture of Kana at her wedding.
What? Yeah. I did not know.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay.
How did you not know that was Mayu?
I didn't pay attention, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't, like, looking at their faces. All I was focused on was my sad boy.
Oh, yeah, you were kind of crying by then.
No, I cry every time I watch this episode without fail. Because, I don't know, I love Hatori with all of my soul. And I just want him to have his spring. And we see that it's ironic that Mayu's talking to Kana because that's who his spring is gonna be. No, because he's so mature and he's so selfless and he's put in the worst situation, like, of a lot of the Zodiac members. Obviously, Kureno, Yuki, Kyo, arguably worse situations, but, like, he does not have it good by any means.
Yeah, and something I want to note here is that certain characters keep being referred to as his spring, but I think a really important moment for Hatori and his development is he realizes that he doesn't need to be saved anymore. Mm-hmm. There isn't, and you shouldn't look for that in a partner anyway. You shouldn't look for someone who will save you. But there are certain things that your partners can teach you that can help you save yourself. Something that Mayu taught Hatori is how to have emotions and be accepting of those. Because when we see in season 2, she starts crying for him, and he also notices that little boy crying at the estate. He starts to pick up, like, maybe I want to cry. Like, I kind of want to cry. And that's his new spring, is kind of learning to accept himself and his emotions and not repress them anymore. So instead of keeping a tally list of all of his mistakes and harboring those emotions and repressing them and putting them down further and further, he just accepts them and moves on. And then he gets the forgiveness from Yuki, and it makes it even better. So Hatori didn't need to be saved. He just needed to learn.
So Kana was his idea of kind of that, like, unadulterated happiness, and almost to an escapism degree, where he's just escaping his situation for that period of time that they were together. But it didn't really leave him with any new growth as a person. Like, it just left him with pain. But the Mayu relationship immediately, like, she helps him to grow as a human so that they can grow together, not Kana bearing the weight of his baggage. Oh!
Yeah, because Kana kept telling him, like, it's okay, you're wanted. And he needed those words. He really did. I'm not saying Kana wasn't a good point for him, but he needed more than that. And he probably would have gotten there with his relationship with Kana, but it happened with Mayu right away.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so notable to me, and it sticks out so intensely for me that he kept saying he got saved, but he wasn't actually saved. He was still repressing all of his emotions and feelings.
Oh, he is such a well-written character. It's absurd.
I know, and he's highlighted so infrequently, but we can talk about him for this long.
Yeah. He has 2 episodes that are specifically devoted to him, and they're, in my opinion, 2 of the most well-written episodes in the series.
Yeah.
But then he eventually asks Toru, the same question. What comes of snow when snow melts? Spring comes, which had to be an eye-opening experience for him, seeing that Kana's not the only ray of light in the world, which I think in a world of darkness like the Soma Clan, that could probably be very easy to perceive. But the episode essentially closes out with them going to the gate. Toru sees Akito, and we see Kureno, even though we don't know it for the first time. Missed that, like, every time except this one. And the episode ends with Toru asking Shigure how she can help with the curse. And he answers that you are just by being yourself. Very ominous, Shigure, very ominous.
And we end up hearing a very similar statement from a lot of people. But the first one that comes to mind is Kazuma in season 2. I think right after the beach arc, And he says that her smiling is enough. Like, that's all she needs to do is just smile. And so a lot of people are giving her the same type of sentiment.
Which
so it's kind of interesting.
Is interesting, and like we talked about with the Kazuma situation, it puts a lot of pressure on her to be this upbeat, problemless, I'm going to fix everything and make everything okay kind of person, when people don't realize just how much she is going through internally, and I don't think she even fully understands what she's going through internally and what's about to come up, which I assume we'll see a lot more of in season 3.
Do you think Toru will end up like Kana?
Like, losing her memory?
No, just like taking the full force of the curse and blame onto herself for not being able to protect the person that she cares about.
Oh, yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I do. 100%. I think that there is going to be a lot of parallels between her mother and, like maybe Kyo or something. I don't think Kyo's gonna die, but, like, he might actually get locked up next season for some period of time. I don't think he'll stay locked up, but I think she'll blame herself for bad things happening to Yuki and Kyo, because bad things, I'm sure, are going to happen to both of them. And she's gonna bear the brunt of that for not being good enough, or not smiling enough, or not doing this, that, or the other thing. And she's going to internalize that and convince herself that it is her fault.
That's sad.
I'm convinced. And so that'll compound with the things that she is completely, like, running on autopilot with unresolved regarding the death of her mother. And I think she's gonna reach a breaking point in season 3.
Well, can't wait for that one.
Whoa!
I'm so excited for this trailer to come out whenever it comes out. Thought it would happen in October, but I guess we'll just wait and see then. But when you see this trailer, oh boy.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
I'm pumped.
But do you have anything else you want to talk about for this episode?
Nope, I'm all good.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of our Fruits Basket podcast. If you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it coming from this channel, then make sure to like the video, subscribe, and why not even ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure to share this video wherever you like sharing things, because it helps us so incredibly much. But as always, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And we will see you in the next video. Later.
See ya.